Hey Zen fam, I've been wanting to make this video for a little while. Basically, if you're a fellow YouTuber, or even if you're not, I really want you to respond to this particular video because this is one I've been playing with for quite some time in my head, and I've wanted to make this, as I said, for a long time. So a video response to this would be awesome. In fact, if I could get it rolling into a thing, then that would be awesome, because I wish to speak about the emotional development of video games and what they mean to us as gamers personally. Not just us as gamers, but us as human beings, people with thoughts and feelings and emotions, and how narrative structure and how placement of things and events within storytelling within gaming itself can affect us, just as much as any other form of art, be it written art, be it movies, be it paintings or sculptures, because games are art. And the way that I personally define art, to me, art is when you have an emotional connection or response to a particular work made by a person. You may not like it, but if you have an emotional response to it, then I personally deem that as art. That's how I define art, because, Tracey Emin's Unmade Bed may not seem like art to some people, but it evokes an emotion. It evokes a response somewhere deep in the brain that makes something happen inside you, and that is where art happens. Art happens at an emotional level, at a part that can't be touched by intellect, but takes intellect to describe it. So it's a tricky beastie. So, what game for you basically ever inspired your strongest, deepest emotional connection to that story at that time? For me, probably the strongest emotional reaction I've ever had to a game was a few years ago. I was streaming on my Twitch channel the Walking Dead Season 2 from Telltale. Brilliant games, the Telltale games. Some of them better than most, some of them not so great, but but the Walking Dead game from Telltale was brilliant. It was wonderfully paced, some great puzzles, looked fantastic, and it was very much part of the Walking Dead universe. You felt invested in it, and it definitely pulled you along, and the story was fantastic. Some of the characters and some of the later scenes were maybe not so well defined, but then that's how you get that's what happens with The Walking Dead. You're wanting to spend more time with the actual main characters than you are the not main characters, because that's how narrative structure works. So, I'm playing The Walking Dead. I can't remember what episode it was. I think I'm about halfway through, if memory serves. This was a long time ago. And like I say, I'm streaming at the time, so I'm talking to my audience. They're asking questions, I'm answering questions, while trying to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the plot and keep an eye on the decisions, because Clementine will remember this, or whatever. It's like, and all your little decisions make sub-decisions, and you guide the game. It's, how it is with a Telltale game, or how it was, rather, I should say, with a Telltale game. It's kind of like one of those old Choose Your Own Adventure books we had when I was a kid. I think they still exist now, probably. I'll have to ask my kid. But, so I'm playing it, and I'm loving it, and they're having a really good time, and I've got good banter going on with the audience. In fact, I think I might have put those up as captures onto the YouTube channel. I'll have to have a look. If so, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. But it's a lot of footage, so I don't blame you if you don't go watch it. So I'm playing away, and two of the characters are having a kid. And You know, so that she's there, she's pregnant in the middle of the apocalypse, you know. And it's all very dicey. It's like, how's it going to pan out? They're going to find a safe place to give birth, you know, all the rest of it. And the pregnancy itself goes wrong, and the child doesn't even get a chance to be born because of a miscarriage. And miscarriages themselves are sad enough things anyway. If you've ever known anybody that's ever experienced a miscarriage, it's hard. And I personally, me and my wife, a couple of years prior, we'd been through a miscarriage. And it was a heavy thing to deal with. And even now, you know, like, all these years later, like, it must have been like, I don't know how long ago it was, but a really long time now. You know, it still, you know, sometimes sits in my brain and doesn't go away. It's never an easy thing to deal with. And at that point, it was still fairly fresh for me. And the game caught me at this moment where it brought up this miscarriage, and it all just came flooding back for me, and I had to basically, you know, I didn't stop the stream, but I basically had to take a moment in the stream and deal with that, because I hadn't recognised that I still hadn't processed all the emotions from it. I thought I had. I thought I'd moved on. No, you never truly move on from something like that. And so basically, I spent a few minutes sort of dealing with this in my head while streaming, talking to my audience. Some of my audience members are like, "It's all right, man. You take time. You do what you do." It's like, if you need to stop the stream, it's all good. And I'm like, "No, man, because I'm loving this game. I want to continue playing." But I just took a minute to sort of like talk it out with people in the chat, which was lovely. People in the chat were so supportive, and they talked it through with me, and eventually I got my head back in shape, and I got back into the game and had an awesome time. But forever, I will remember The Walking Dead Season 2, you know, as that game that like touched me somewhere really raw in a really evocative way. And I can never forget that, and I can never move past that. But it was a good game, and that was a true human moment I spent with it. And the writing team, considering they have to write several different eventualities for all the decisions that are made, they hit that perfectly. So even though Telltale Games doesn't exist anymore, to the writing staff that wrote that particular series of events, serious golf clap. You guys played at a blinder. I should have said thank you at the time to the writing team. I don't know if I did. I can't really remember. Maybe even I should have tweeted it or something. I don't know. Maybe I did. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I mean, yeah, but that game touched me. That moment touched me. And then my audience reaction to me reacting to that also touched me, and that's probably one of the strongest emotional connections I've ever had while playing a video game. So the next time that somebody says to you, video games aren't art, you can link them this video and show them that indeed video games are art. They can touch people, they do touch people, and the debate is over. Rightio, so please, if you're out there and you see this video and you have a story of your own, please, I'd love to see a video of it. Tag me in the title of the video. Let's make this a thing going forward. Emotional connections to video games. Video games are art. Tag me in the title. However you want to title it, that's all your decision. But tag me, make the video. Let's show the world that video games can actually mean things to people. Right. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, aye, nae bother.